Okay, welcome everyone. What I'd like to do is a quick orientation, basic aircraft video for St. V's neonatal ICU transport team. So we have an Augusta. This is going to be the most common aircraft that you guys are going to fly in. What you want to understand is that you only ever want to enter and exit from the 3 and 9 position. We're never going to go near the aircraft when anything is spinning or it's running. So just keep that in mind. 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock positions respectively. To open the door, what you want to do is put a little bit of pressure right here with your hand. Look down here, pull the handle out. Be very gentle with these doors. We don't need to open them, slam them open or closed. Once it gets back to a certain point, you're going to hear it click. Okay, it clicked, the door is locked. You won't be able to pull on this and close it. What you're going to have to do is push this little button right here. It says push. Depress that. It unlocks the door. You'll be able to close it. Same thing, but in reverse. Pressure right here. That closes it from the outside. Okay? That's basic door operation. 2 different kinds of seat belts. This is the one that's facing the rear of the aircraft. You can see these buckles are all together. It's a 4-point harness. What we're going to do is we're going to spin it. You turn that and everything falls apart. Okay, once you get in, go to the side, clip it in, and then the 2 are going to go into the top. You'll hear them click. That's fastened. You can adjust them tighter or looser depending. This you don't have to worry about because it's spring loaded in there. So that's that seat belt. Drop cord for this seat. You plug your helmet into the end of here, just like this. Helmet's plugged in. Make sure your microphone is down directly in front of your lips. You won't be able to really talk if that's anywhere other than right in front of your mouth. So make sure that's placed properly. Communication inside the aircraft, we're going to use this slider bar up at the top here. Okay, you can either push it against the spring, you have to hold it while you talk and then let go. That's to talk inside. Or if you have to use your hands and talk at the same time, you can push it the opposite direction and it will click open. Once you're done and you're able to, click that back to a neutral position because you don't want to have a hot mic inside of the aircraft. Everyone else is going to hear all the noise that's going in through your microphone, and it's really annoying. We're not going to worry about this button that transmits on the radio. If you're having problems hearing, you need it louder or it's too loud, you do have a volume adjustment knob. And the drop cords they're all fairly similar in operation, but they might look just a little bit different. But they do have volume knobs on them, all of them. Some of them are on the side. Some of them plug into a different spot, but function is still the same. This is the forward-facing seat here. This seat belt is a little bit different. You got a lap belt here. That fastens in. And up here, this just clips onto that. So just more like a car, goes over your shoulder. So that's the type of seat belt for that one. Moving on. So in the back, when you're in the forward-facing seat, facing the forward part of the aircraft, sitting in this seat, you'll see above your right-hand shoulder, you have oxygen. Same thing on the opposite side. It's all duplicated. You've got air. Same thing over here where the isolette would be. This is down by the litter system. So you have all this stuff is identical over here. The only difference is here you have the controls. So this little button right up here is the aircraft inverter. That turns on your 110 AC, just like you would plug into inside the hospital. Those plugs are over here, which would be at the foot of the isolette. If your inverter is turned on, the aircraft is running, and you don't have power, you need to troubleshoot it. If you'll notice, these plugs have GFCI breakers in them, just like what would be in your bathroom. So if you're not getting power for whatever reason, you may need to reset these breakers. And that's the only place in the aircraft where we have plugs, is right back in that corner. You can see where we got the gloves hanging, foot of the isolette, plugs. So that little button right there has to be in. If it's popped out, the inverter's off. Push it in, turns it on. Next, we have air. So that's your air pump. That's going to be for your medical air. That's 50 psi when that's turned on. You can utilize either one of those. Next button down is going to be your onboard suction. So there's your suction pump, and that suction canister is right back here by the plugs. So you can go ahead and use that. You can dial whatever pressures you need out of that, or alternatively, we do have a portable suction unit at the foot down there. So personally, I would use the portable suction, unless you need to be real specific on the pressures that you're dialing in, then use that. This little knob right here is for the light dimmer. So you're going to go over here, you're going to see you have a light switch here. NVG is for night vision goggles. Especially at night, just go ahead and get in the habit of clicking that switch up. Once that switch is in the up position, this little dial knob right here will change the lights brighter or dimmer. Counterclockwise dims them all the way to the off position, and then you can turn it up for as bright as you need it. Climate control, you can see these little air ducts right here. You just press with your finger, they'll open up, you can spin it, you can guide it onto yourself to cool off. There's another one over here by this seat, and then there's two of them on the patient side. So do whatever you need to do with those. Drop cord back here is exactly the same as the one that I already showed you. Emergency exits. For the rear of the aircraft, the emergency exits are actually the windows. So at the top here, you'll see a little gray Velcro piece of leather. You pull that up and you'll see a red cord right there. Same thing on this door over here. See the red? You're going to grab a hold of that, you're going to yank it, you're going to pull it. That's going to pull the rubber all the way out from around this window. So once that rubber is pulled out of there, you'd push on the bottom corners of the door, or the window, excuse me, and push that window right out. That's your emergency exit, both sides in the rear. Door operation in the rear, once you're inside, you want to go ahead and close the door. Remember, it's locked open, so we're going to push this button. You can push it and pull. Down here we have the handle. You're going to grab a hold of this handle. You're not going to slam the door, but you're going to pull it forcefully. And as you're pulling on it, you'll notice that there's no light showing around that door at all. So you're going to go ahead once you're pulling, and you're going to turn. That's locked. You can tell it's locked because up here you can see a pin. This is at the rear part of the door. There's a pin in that top corner, and then there's another connection point right here. Okay, so you can tell that that door is closed by verifying that the pins are engaged. To open it up, you just reverse the process, open it slowly and easily. We don't want to slam it. Okay, so you guys are all loaded up. You're in here, you got your isolette in here. Everybody's in their seats. You guys are getting your seat belts on, you're getting your helmets adjusted. The pilot's up front starting the aircraft up. Everything's starting to spin and get real noisy. Once the pilot is ready to go, the pilot is going to, this is called the challenge and response. So the pilot is going to say patient and equipment. Once he says patient and equipment, you're checking to make sure the patient is secured. You don't have equipment anywhere in the aircraft that's unsecured. If we get into turbulence or anything, that could be very dangerous to have anything free floating inside the aircraft. So make sure the patient and equipment are secured. So you're going to reply secured. He's going to ask you to check doors and seat belts. So double check each other, make sure everybody's got their seat belts on. And just like I showed you the door, make sure there's no light around the door. You're looking at those pins to verify that the pins are engaged in the door. Then you're going to challenge the pilot. So you're going to reply to the pilot, lights and gauges. The pilot is going to check all the gauges and all the lights and make sure that there's no warning lights, there's no caution lights, and everything is good for flight. So the pilot will say good for flight. After he says good for flight, you're going to say engines at flight. The reason we challenge that is because it doesn't sound any different if you have only one engine or two engines. So those little switches right down there, they both need to be in the flight position. We need both engines up and running to be able to safely take off. So basically a check and balance. He's checking you, make sure everything's good to go. You're challenging him, and he's checking everything else, he or she. Okay, moving on out of the back. Door's shut. We'll move up to the front part now. Okay, this door, the handle is the same. You can do the same thing, a little bit of pressure, and open this door up. You'll notice that the handle is exactly the same as the one in the rear of the aircraft. So to shut the door is exactly the same. This seat here is the same as the rear facing. You twist this, everything falls apart, these go over your shoulders, and that's that seat belt. Pretty basic, straightforward. This seat, you have the option, and you guys as crew members are going to have to decide. Is the person that's sitting up front, do you want the seat facing backwards? So you'll be facing the isolette, or if you choose, you can leave the seat just how it is and face forward. And that's going to be totally up to you guys. Once you're facing rearward, there's not much that you're going to be able to do as far as helping in the back because you're just looking at the end of the isolette. So that's totally up to you. In the front of the aircraft, you'll see there's a light right here. You'll see some coil cords, and at the end, this is where you plug in your helmet. So you just simply plug your helmet into that. This is different from the ones in the rear. Make sure your microphone is close to your mouth. All you have to do is talk, and it will automatically activate your microphone so you can talk within the cockpit. Emergency exits in the front. Don't grab a hold of this orange lever to use as leverage to get in and out of the aircraft. This is emergency exit only. Okay, basically you take this little orange flap thing right here, you flap that up. Once that's up, you'd grab a hold of this bar and move it forward. Once you move that forward, it disengages the pins that hold the door on. So that whole door is going to fall off. So we don't want to accidentally do that. That's emergency exit only. You'll see on the pilot's side, same thing. Flip up the orange tab, move the lever forward, door falls off. That's your emergency exit. Go over our emergency shutdown real quick. This is where you could potentially have a hard landing. The pilot may be incapacitated and you have to shut the aircraft down. The easiest way for me to explain this is think of all the switches and levers are forward. They're all towards the front of the aircraft. That means you're going, okay? So basically everything can be flipped back towards the rear of the aircraft. That stops everything. So if you see up here, engines in flight, you can grab these levers and you're going to pull these levers back to the off position. That's off. Power, this is your main power, these three switches. You can simply pull that red bar and that's going to shut all the power off to the aircraft. So you want to shut power off, shut engines off. You go down here, you can see these red switches here. There's 2 red switches, and then there's 2 just below it. That's your fuel. Shut the fuel off. Towards the back of the aircraft is off. So right now they're all off. All 4 of them. You also have your engines here. So you can see that these are pointed to off. During flight, they'd be towards the front of the aircraft. You simply push down and turn them counterclockwise a quarter turn until they're in the off position, just like they are right now. Lastly, up here is the rotor brake. So you'd push this button on the bottom and you pull this T-handle backwards, just like the brakes in your car. That's gonna engage a brake on the rotor system, and it's gonna stop everything from turning. If you would have a hard landing, depending on the G-forces, we have an emergency, it's called an ELT. Basically, it's a locator. If it does not engage and you're having an emergency, you want to engage it, you can do that manually right here. It's on the dash. And I think that's pretty much about it. Air vent up here in the front. Once you exit, here, let me shut this door for you so you guys can see it. So you're in the front of the aircraft. So you're gonna pull, you're gonna twist. Okay, that door is shut. You can't see any daylight. Up here in that corner, there's a pin right there. You're gonna look at that, you're gonna make sure that that is engaged. There's another one down here, it's kind of hard to see with the lighting. Right there. That's also going to be engaged. So open the door up, just like in the back, turn it clockwise, quarter turn, door is going to come open. Okay. Alright, I believe that's it for now. We can add more as we go. We'll get some comments on this and see if you guys like it, or if there's anything else that you want to go over. If there is, certainly email me, let me know. Thanks for watching.